Hello, my name is Dennis Blocker.
I'd like to tell you about an incredible event that's going to take place in February 21st, 2026. We're calling it the Rooftop Oath. The story came into my awareness back in April of 2025. I co-host a podcast with a friend of mine, Jeff Copsetta, and Don Abernathy, who founded the podcast called What's the Scuttlebutt? One of the guests that night was a young historian from Michigan named Andrew Boer. And the young man was talking about the Weslaco 8, a group of 8 young men from Weslaco who joined the Marine Corps in January of 1943 and in February bussed up to San Antonio and were inducted into the Marines. During the slide presentation, he showed a photograph of 13 young men with their right hands raised, and they were obviously being sworn in. And before them stood an officer who would turn out to be Captain Donald Taft, the commander. But what was interesting was that at the caption at the bottom of the photograph, it showed it was February 18th, 1943, and that it was San Antonio, Texas. And I noticed that if you're looking at the photograph, the right of the young men with their hands raised, there was a stone pediment and a pole, which could only be a flagpole. And I realized that San Antonio has a long history of not tearing down architecture. They'll gut a building for sure, but they'll leave the facade, the architectural beauty that is there. And so I figured it was probably a good chance that the pediment and flagpole, but for sure the pediment would still exist. So a couple months ago, this would have been probably September of 2025, I decided to go downtown San Antonio and walk around seeing if I could discover where this building was, the facade, and especially the pediment. And I was walking down Travis and I turned right at the intersection of Travis and Broadway, and I looked up and there was a stone pediment in the center of the building at 118 Broadway. I took a picture with my phone and then zoomed in, and sure enough, it was the same exact pediment, which fortunately for historical reasons was very unique to that particular building. There was no mistaking it. It was definitely the right pediment and thus the right building. So I crossed the street and went up to it, and I discovered that it was the Ayers building. And looking in, I could see just the beautiful architecture, the beautiful marble, bronze, brass, like just beautiful, typical from that time period in the 20s and 30s. I knew immediately that I needed to contact the building owner. Now, why was it so unique, the whole picture and needing to contact the building owner? It turns out because in that photograph of the 13 young men, who, by the way, all were from the Rio Grande Valley, I needed to contact the building owner because the fourth man in from the right, that is Harlan Block. And almost exactly 2 years to the day, that picture on the rooftop was February 18th, 43. February 23rd, 1945, that young man, Harlan Block, will be on top of Mount Suribachi helping to raise the flag in the most famous picture of all time. He'll be in that picture, the first from the right. The young Marine who is guiding the pole into the hole they've selected, making sure it's going to have a strong foundation. The historical significance, of course, is not lost on me. I mean, goodness gracious. This building has a connection to that moment, arguably the most famous photograph in World War II and quite possibly in history, as it's been reproduced more than any other photograph as statues, murals, keepsakes, souvenirs, keychains, stickers, photographs, labels, logos, even monuments. So it was very significant, and to see that San Antonio has a direct connection from that rooftop to the mountaintop was just awesome. So I approached the building's owner, Mr. Lawrence Siderly. He had no idea. The building had been in generational, and it wasn't passed to him that from his father that the building had this event take place on it. So then, of course, that led to the question, why this building? Why the rooftop? So did some research. We got Harlan Block's service record. At the top, the heading, it shows United States Marine Corps, Southern Recruiting District, San Antonio, and then the address, the magical address, 118 Broadway, which solidified everything. So it turns out that this building was the induction center for the Marines. They would have their medical done, dental, life insurance, benefits, next of kin, notification papers, chest x-rays, all that stuff was done on the 6th floor, which ironically turns out to be the same floor that Mr. Siderly's business office is located. Yeah, so just the implication of thousands of young South Texans from all over, were inducted there in San Antonio and then left there to go to San Diego. And in particular, the young men in the photograph, we know where they went afterwards. And some went to Tarawa, some went to the battles in Guam, Saipan, Tinian, of course, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. It's incredible to think that this building performed such a task and no one knew that it did. And that needed to change. So I asked Mr. Seiderly if we could put a plaque up there just so that it would never be lost to history again, because it almost was. And he was, of course, ecstatic and about that. Well, things have really, really steamrolled since that moment when we thought that we would put a plaque up there. Now it's turned into a huge event. I contacted the Marines, the 8th Marine Corps Recruiting District, which is the exact lineage of the building. And their executive officer, Captain Gaskin, was blown away by the news and the information, said he would support anything he could and provide whatever was required from the Marines, and that he would definitely bring active duty Marines to the event. Then I reached out to Weslaco High School, right? That's where the young men, the Weslaco 8, were from, and the high school that they had been graduated from early so they could join. Colonel Cuevas down there got with the principal, and they authorized the booking the travel and whatnot for their cadets, and we're going to make them part of the ceremony. I have been since then getting calls from far away as Fort Worth. Marines from Fort Worth say they want to come to this event. And the reason being is that it's actually turned into 4 plaques now. There's going to be one. I approached the city of San Antonio, and the documentation that I provided, they just said, absolutely, this is going to happen. So here in this video, the rendition of what the plaque is going to look like that will go on the front of the building. There's going to be 3 plaques on the roof. On the stone pediment, there will be 2. One on the left shows the famous Rooftop Oath photograph, and then it will list the names and the campaigns that the guys were in. And then on the right will be one of the flag raising, denoting Harlan Block and the fact that he's in the Rooftop Oath photograph. And then if you're looking at the pediment, right directly behind you is a brick wall, a small building. On that one is going to be a bronze plaque that says the Rooftop Oath, February 18th, 1943, San Antonio, Texas. And that plaque is just going to more formally announce the significance of the rooftop and what it meant. We are getting veterans groups. We're going to have big band. We're going to have World War II vehicles. And the owner of the building said, let's go big. As a side thought, he just kind of blurted out, get a flyby. And being a member of the Commemorative Air Force, I immediately thought, maybe we could pull this off. So I spoke with Jeff, the commander of the Tex Hill Wing, and he was just floored with the event and the amazement with what this means for the history of South Texas, and the Marines, and preserving the site and being able to be a part of something so significant. Yeah, let's see what we can do. I have a deep connection to the war, and it's in my blood, in my DNA, to preserve the stories of those who gave all and put their lives on the line to protect freedom across the world. And I'm thankful that this opportunity has come, and I'm really thankful for everyone that is willing to be a part of it and to share this moment as a city, a community, and for us to say thank you.